alongside your work, you were able to keep up a number of hobbies, and
Yes, I
some
was.
of them drew you back to cars,
Yeah,
where you
I've
started
always been
working.
interested in cars, as everybody probably knows. But there's one that was interesting me, and it was I used to deliver, like I said, chuck food to the farms, and I noticed this relic. It was away from the farm building, but it was stuck underneath a blackberry bush or has weeds and that growing through it, and it
Mm-hmm.
was a rusty old thing. It didn't look any good at all.
Mm.
And I looked at it, and I found my way into the blackberries, and it showed me the radiator of a car which I'd never seen before, and it was a curved shaped radiator, and the radiator itself was like a honeycomb V shape, not a flat radiator. It was V shaped like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, well, that looks interesting. So then I lifted the bonnet up, and there wasn't much left of it actually. It was all rusty, but the framework of the car was timber, wood, and what's left of the metalwork that was on it was all rotten anyway. So I thought, I looked under the bonnet and it said Henry Meadows of Wolverhampton on the engine plate.
Mm-hmm.
Now Meadows, not Meadows in Ichunga, in here, South Australia, Meadows was a firm that made engines for cars
Mm-hmm.
back in England in the way, and they also made stationary engines for farm use,
Mm-hmm.
well, for grain elevators and all
Yeah,
the rest of it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I said to the farmer, is that any good? Do you want to sell it? Oh, no, it's too cheap, rubbish. Wouldn't sell you that. So I left it at that for a while, and I went back to it for some time later and said, look, sell it to me. How much do you want for it? Oh, give me $50. He says $50.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I did. $50 I gave him,
Right.
and I got a trailer,
Mm-hmm.
and the wheels wouldn't even go round. They were solid,
Right.
Right.
So you're probably
Wow.
helping him out by giving him
Yeah,
getting rid
yeah.
of it.
And he said, well, if with that $50, he says you've got to clean all the rubbish around it. Like there's a bit of metal over there, and another piece over here, and an old wheel somewhere else. So he said, you clear the site of all the bits and pieces. He says you can have it for 50. So that's what I did,
Yeah.
and I took it back to Ichunga, where I'm going to blow my nose if you excuse me.
Very well.
Fine with
Took
me.
it back to Ichunga, and I left it at the side of the house. This is on Mariana Street
Mm-hmm.
where we lived, and all for a while it was just sat there, and I thought I must do something with this. So I started on it, and each piece of rotten wood I took away from what was left of the frame and labelled it and put it out so it didn't get damaged anymore.
Yeah.
And that was the framework of the body, or what was left of it.
Mm.
The actual panel work was rotten anyway. When you touched it, it just crumbled up. The wheels had been sunk in the ground. They were wooden spoke wheels, by the way. They were sunk in the ground that much that the bottom, when we shifted it, the bottom was rotten of the wheels.
Mm.
So I thought, gee, I've got myself a problem here. Anyway, the engine itself was seized up, but it was all complete,
Mm-hmm.
and the chassis got surface rust on it, but it wasn't rotten.
Mm-hmm.
There's bits of old rotten leather that was what was left of the seats, and the seats were all sprung with springs,
Yeah.
and they were all rotten. You squashed them up like that, and they just broke.
Oh.
The wire of the
Now we just showed a picture for those who are watching, which is not the same car. It's another car project you work on. But I have seen photos of this. When you say there was not a lot left, there really was. It was
all rotten.
to someone like me, I would
Yeah.
think it's a completely
Well, everybody that saw it as it was, they said, "You're mad doing this."
yeah.
I thought, well, I've never seen a Meadows engine before.
Yeah.
and probably a lot of people haven't.
Yeah.
So that's where I took it on.
So you put a lot of hours, a lot of
Oh, yeah.
love, a lot of probably some expense into this
10
project.
years,
10 years
10
of
years.
project alongside working and other
roughly.
things.
Now, I'm excited to see the final product of this car that you spent like 10 years working on and bringing back to life.
Mm.
Yes, let's see it. Yeah, you can catch this on our YouTube channel if you're listening to this via podcast or radio as well. So you can just head to Life Bursts with Matt and Sarah. Let's see the picture of the
Look
car.
at that.
There we
Beautiful.
go.
Now this is a real classic car. What's
It's a chick.
a chick?
A chick.
People say, a chick? Never heard of one. And it's true, but a lot of people haven't. But it was originally made in England by a fellow named of Clarence Chick. And he was in the army in the early First World War, and they were injured badly, apparently, during the war. And when he was recouping, him and his mate decided that when they got back to England, they were going to build a car.
Right.
Because it was in the early days of cars, everybody got push bikes then, you know. So that's what they decided. And they sussed out all the places, the components they could get. And they ordered 50, I think it was, altogether. 50 engines, 50 whatever. And they got back to England and started up this firm. And they built, I think there was 50, I don't know whether they completed 50 or not, but they built a few anyway. And they were quite big cars, as you can see. Limousine almost, you know. But this was the one that I found.
Yeah. So
And as it is now, it's beautiful. But as it was absolutely rotten.
know
You've seen it.
You showed me some photos of it. Really was
Yeah.
well, ready for the junkyard, I would have said. But you,
Well, we found it in a blackberry bush
yeah. So
in Macclesfield. And I thought, well, when did it? I don't even know how it got there, but it did.
a great find. And for those who can't see, it's painted beautifully red, restored, and it just looks as good as new. It's like something that would have been worth a little bit more as you sold it than $50. Hard to part with.
Well, if anybody wants to see it now, when you go over to Wollongong.
Yeah.
It's in the Life Museum over there.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, wonderful.
Okay.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
Well done.
So if any of you get on your travels, go over to Wollongong, go into the Motor Life Museum, and it's there.
Right. Lovingly restored.
Yeah.
Now, this wasn't the only vehicle you worked on. We've shown
No.
another picture as well. You and your friend Bob working on. You created a convertible.
Yeah. Well, Bob Sexton and Joan, they're friends of ours,
Yes.
of mine now. He's got a Morris 1000, or did have. He sold it now, but it's Morris 1000 anyway. And it's a factory built convertible, factory made convertible.
Okay.
And this one that I've made, it's not a factory built one, but I made it as near to the factory as I could. But it wasn't the Morris 1000. The Morris 1000 has got the headlights up in the top of the guards,
Okay.
built into the mud guards at the top. This one has got the headlights down in the grill, the radiator grill. So that's the difference. They've still got V windscreens, V-shaped windscreens. And other than that, they're much the same. But I decided I was going to make it like Bob's. So I got the tape measure out and took a lot of measurements. The secret is you measure twice and cut once, like we always say. So I looked at it and took photographs of it, and I could see now that there's metal got to go over the top of the windscreen. It's not just a windscreen sitting up and that makes it into the convertible. No, it's got to have something solid to pull the hood down onto.
Yeah.
So I measured up the windscreen, and there's about that much metal above the windscreen, curved metal, before the roof starts. And I measured that and marked it out with a texter. and measured again. And then one day I said to Bob, well, we're going to cut the roof off today. Oh, Bob says, so I've got the angle grinder, and you can't, if you make a mistake, that's the end of it.
No.
Well, a lot of welding to do.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, so I decided this is going to be it. So I gradually went along the line of the roof, straight across the top. That let it free from the windscreen. They had to cut the door pillars off to release it from the rest of the body.
Yeah.
And Bob was on one side and I was on the other. And I said, right, Bob, I'll just grind the last bit off to release it. That's what we did. And of course, it wanted to fall then, didn't it? And so we had to catch it.
Yes.
And it stood there. He was one side and I was the other. And we got it balanced in our hands. And what do we do with it now?
Now where?
So we walked to the back of the car before we could get it away from the car. We couldn't lift it. I couldn't have it on my side because he was on that side. So move it along.
Another labour of love.
Yeah.
So you had some good years in that vehicle.
It was great. It worked well.
Yeah.
And there's an upholsterer friend of ours. He lives in Macclesfield, and he did all the upholstery on the Chick and the other one.
Mm.
So it all worked out well.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching this short clip of Life Bursts. Make sure that you hit the subscribe, like, and follow button. And for more, head to rawcut.com.au.